Prepare for insight.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Ugins Inside, the podcast and vidcast hosted by Jordan here from WotC Magic. And today I'm going to be discussing a couple of things. First thing we're going to address is why has the content been, Jordan? Yes, I know. One, I apologise for not getting any content out recently. We've got a new puppy. I've been very busy with that. Between that and work, I'm very burnt out. So I've actually been enjoying playing Arena just for playing and not actually creating content. And that's where we're going to come around to one of my topics, which is discussing the recent format that Wizards had up as a special event, which was the 100-card historic brawl. The second thing we're going to discuss about is the new dungeon mechanic that is coming to the new core set that's coming out, which I'm very excited by. And I just want to discuss and give my thoughts on that. And so without further ado, let's just get around straight away into the first topic, which is, of course, the 100-card Singleton Brawl historic format. So can we just... Right, for a start off, I love how Wizards gave it this beautiful, long, lovely title. Can we call it what it is, though? And it is Arena Commander, because that's all it is. That is essentially what we are talking about here. I understand why they're not going to call it Commander, because Commander obviously has rules and a ban list and all that jazz, but come on. I understand Brawl is meant to be single to, sort of one-on-one as well, and Commander is designed for multiplayer, but surely there is something they can call it better than 100 Singleton historic Brawl, because it doesn't work. Come on. And the thing that I'm going to applaud is that, my god, it's so much better than Brawl. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing the Brawl decks, but they're too quick. It's easy to build a very quick and aggressive deck. The 100-card one, my lord, it's good fun. You can do so much with it. Suddenly there's not all these great options that you've got to think about. It's really fun. But I just love it as a format. So Wizards, as a very selfish thing, please can we have it back? Please? Can we have it as a permanent thing? Can we make it a regular thing every, once a month? I don't know, once a month, sort of twice every other month or something like that. It's so good as a format. What was I playing? I played Golos. And yes, I did run Land of the Den combo in there. But I was doing Golos Super Friends. That was brilliant. That was really fun. It was just great cheating out all these Planeswalkers and doing everything like that. It's amazing how many people were scooping just because you play Golos. You would play a couple of things, and if they didn't have something, they'd immediately scoop. Not me personally. I went up against another Golos deck, and that was really entertaining. He was basically Golos value, and against mine, he struggled because, of course, I got lots of Planeswalkers out. But then we got to the point of where he got the artifact, the 6-mana artifact that shuts down Planeswalkers. The something sun. I can't remember now. It's going to drive me mental. But it was a big problem. But it was good fun. It was good fun. I had a lot of good times with the deck. It was entertaining and everything else. So it was really cool. So let me know, what did you guys play during the event? That's what I want to know. I saw so many varieties of deck. Although, can I just say the Anax ones that were running around? Come on, that was very dull and boring. And that was if I wanted to smash out my 5 wins, I get why you would play it, but it was just not fun because if you like Planeswalkers ones, if you don't have enough things to deal with it, it was a problem. So, that's it for that little bit of rant. Let's move on to the next subject, which is, of course, the new dungeon mechanic. Obviously, we're getting some looking into the Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. It is the core set, but it's not a core set. It's rather interesting. I actually quite like the way they're doing it. And, of course, this is going to be D&D based. And one of the main things with Dungeons & Dragons based, of course, is that you always end up in a dungeon. Or you go through a dungeon. Or you need to visit a dungeon. Hell, there's the Tomb of Annihilation storybooks involves you playing around for several weeks and then getting to the tomb. So, the dungeons are a part of D&D lore. They were going to have to address it in some way. And I think the way that they're doing it is rather sweet. So basically, what are the dungeons? So basically, dungeon is the mechanic, and you venture into a dungeon. Creatures can trigger venturing by entering the battlefield, attacking. There's a planeswalker that has a loyalty ability that triggers it. And basically, your dungeons are essentially an extra card that sit outside of your deck. You can run as many different dungeons as you want, or you can run the same one. Once you enter a dungeon, you've got to go all the way through it to get the benefit. And basically, it is rather sweet in the fact that it gives an extra element to the game. It's like having Monarch. You know, when Monarch was introduced, it's this thing that happens outside the game, but then suddenly you gain this ability, and suddenly you get extra card draw. It's like, oh, that's sweet, and it really works. Same thing for I keep saying Tomb of Annihilation because I've got it up on my screen, but in fact, you know what, we really should be showing this with the cards. I mean, so for those of you on the vidcast, basically, let's look at Tomb of Annihilation, for example. So when you first venture into the dungeon, you enter the trapped entry, which each player loses 1 life. Okay. You then have the second venture, which you've got 2 routes you can go. You can either go for Veil of Fears, which then also goes into Sandfall Cell, or you go for the Oubliette. These both have different things. And then you get to the final room, which was Cradle of the Death God, which creates a great big 4/4 God Horror with Death Touch. And then once that's done, you're out of the dungeon and you've completed it. Now, once you've completed it, you've essentially you've done 1 dungeon. If you then venture again, you can then start off on another dungeon. You can even go back to the same dungeon if you want to make sure you're having consistency with a dungeon mechanic in your deck. But you got things like you got sort of lots of different awesome things that you can do. Like when you look at Lost Mine of Handelver. I think I said that right, and apologies there. I'm sure D&D Nut will be able to correct me on that. But basically, that one has sort of scry. You can create treasure tokens, or you can create goblin tokens. You can get counters on a creature. You can make them lose life and you gain life. You can make one of your opponent's creatures, or one of your creatures, get -4, -0. And at the end of it, you get to draw cards. It's rather sweet. So there's always something that you can be doing with them. And suddenly you add this extra element of the game. Because, let's be honest, if my opponent's going to be going through a dungeon, I'm going to be like, right, okay, so what exactly is he going to go through? Which route would I go? So it adds that extra element to the game that you've got to be considerate of. Wizards did do a YouTube video explaining it in a lot more detail. It's rather good. You're meant to use a counter to indicate which stage you're at. I reckon some pro people will probably turn up with some miniature. Hell, I've got some old fantasy miniatures still lying around from Warhammer Fantasy, or Age of Sigmar as it's now called. So I could probably take one of them as my counter, because why not? But yeah, it's an interesting mechanic. One thing I would like to see is, I'm not 100% sure yet. I haven't seen many. I'm going to quickly look before I start spouting off nonsense. I don't know if there's many common ways of entering a dungeon. It would be good to see. There is hang on, I've just spotted here. So as long as you've completed Gloomstalker, as long as you've completed a dungeon, it gets double strike. So I'm assuming they're going to give it some way for you to complete a dungeon in common as well, which would, it'd be interesting. It would certainly add an extra element to Pauper. I think it'd be rather cool, actually, as having a new mechanic. Because let's be honest, Monarch is a very well-loved mechanic. And the fact is that if being able to have more extra mechanics to be coming in from outside of the game, the benefit as well is that these cards don't take any sideboards, so it's not like the dungeons run as your sideboard cards either. They're just sort of like a separate deck, like with the contraptions deck when we had Unstable, when we were all playing Unstable, and stuff like that. It's really sweet. It's really cool. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, so far there's not been too many spoilers. It is coming out spoiler season, I believe, starts this week, or maybe it might be this weekend or the end of next weekend. Oh no, I've just spotted Shortcut Seeker. Here we go. Shortcut Seeker in 4 mana. It is in common because I can't actually read the mana symbols, or the actual the icons colouring properly. Whenever Shortcut Seekers deal combat damage to a player, venture into a dungeon. It's 2/5 for 4 mana, so it's a bit expensive. But let's be honest, there's plenty of ways to get around with evasion in various decks, so that's going to be quite cool to see. So definitely in Pauper, that'll be cool. But yeah, so all in all, looking forward to it. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see a bit more cards coming out and get some flavour. I have never ever played Dungeons and Dragons, so a lot of the probably of all the names and the legendary creatures and stuff like that, and legendary named characters will probably go over my head. And that's just me. I've always wanted to get into D&D, but I've never had the opportunity because I know that it's not exactly something that you can just to commit on a whim. Like, I can go down to the local game store and play a Magic game quite easily, whereas if you want to play in a D&D, you kind of need to be able to commit some form of time to go and play. So yeah, so if anyone's got any great D&D stories or great reasons why I should be playing D&D, tell you what, let me know in the comments section on our YouTube video. Let me know via tweets and stuff like that. You can add me at Jordan. Add me at Orcs Head Magic. I am doing more content. I am coming back. As I say, I've just been extremely busy lately. Life does get in the way. I am due for coming up for a big break as well in October, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so without further ado, also make sure you follow us on our new TikTok. We have the official Orcs Head Magic on TikTok. Please follow us. We're starting to do a bit of content here and there. It's generally stuff. It's not specifically magic stuff. I'm doing lots of random things on there, so it's going to be cool. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Just a short episode today, guys. I hope you understand. But much love, stay safe, and catch you guys later.